He was scheming not just for Jim's wallet, but for Chrissy. For this reason, Jim called him, and another understudy stated, "I'm looking for the crown," and the blogosphere lost their minds about it. The headlines cried out, "Do you have leaking data?" Verified Jim's assertions. A company scandal exposed that Chrissy's spouse, Love, participated in a scheme to commit fraud, and the name of her spouse was popular for the first time, instead of Chrissy's. The entire government name was yelled at in thin air on Twitter and gossip website threads. Meanwhile, Jim was leaking. And he wasn't only being made fun of on the internet. He was being handled as though he were the adversary in a documentary on Netflix. He plummeted more like clockwork, in sections every few hours. This text thread, an example voicemail, allegedly had Chrissy's spouse sending a promoter an SMS. "Don't let Jimmy do this. She doesn't have to be awake." Another displayed his screenshots, purportedly using Jim's identity in order to obtain gatherings. The sound recording of Jim's warning tone to someone in his social circle about snakes that are too close to the most terrifying aspect was home years ago. As of yet, the snake, as stated by speaking to fans, was Chrissy's hubby. Chrissy was unable to remain silent any longer, and finally raised their voice. It was late. She shared one Instagram post that evening. Picture, not a rumor, married to a guy. It featured her ring in a black rectangle, hand exposed. The remarks were hurtful. The internet, however, didn't. What if I were to tell you that the conflict we thought had already arrived at a record-breaking level abruptly changed into a conflict with nuclear weapons? Indeed, Jim Jones just surpassed everyone's expectations. The weeks after civilization was broken by rumors, memes, and published sound. Ignore the arguments and the suffering. This time he brought receipts. References asserted that the invoices were not intended for viewing. Ever since that wedding, the internet has become captivated by Chrissy's husband. The bombshell is the topic of screenshots, emails, and even behind-the-scenes videos. What then? Are these receipts visible? A sinister secret able to incorporate anything. Individuals are already referring to it as the last nail in the coffin through blogging. Twitter investigators are losing their minds when they make the real-time connectivity. Jim was without bitterness. Jim was cautioning us all at once. A widely shared post said instead, "It is evident that now that these receipts have been released to the public, the inquiries are more pressing than ever. It's been uncovered." In Who is Chrissy's Hubby, in fact? Behind his smile, what is he concealing? The light in the dark. Furthermore, why is Jim so passionate about sharing this? Relationships may be ruined by information. Professions, and perhaps even Chrissy's newlyweds before the partnership has not even started. Specifically, the receipts aren't just taking Chrissy's hubby with her. By pulling Chrissy along with them, they depict a betrayal that appears more significant, colder, and more purposeful than fans could never have guessed. The internet assumed that this had to do with love. Jim's invoices have shown the involvement of power. Chrissy's and her husband's appearance will never be the same. Once more to you. Manner after being informed about its contents? When those invoices appeared while reading the blogs, everything was distinct. A controversy involving a terrible audio leak quickly developed into a noteworthy disturbance of culture. The initial screenshots were nearly unreal due to their excessive graininess. But eventually, they switched to sharper, and Jim Jones wasn't only yelling at a microphone anymore. He produced evidence. Furthermore, there was more evidence for this than ambiguous clues or sour animosity. Names, phone numbers, and dates are all recommended. The involvement of Chrissy's new husband in odd pursuits. The streets where Twitter was booming, blogs were boiling, and blood samples were being sniffed. It all began with a widely circulated rumor website that made public what they mentioned as a contribution made anonymously. A string of what seemed to be informal email conversations between Chrissy's spouse and a promoter from Atlanta. They arrived. First, innocuous. The following captions recounted a terrible tale, though. Cash exchanges, transactions that aren't captured. The origin of the internet was the quiet around this. Particularly, don't allow Jimmy to find out. Backers erupted as soon as they'd read that. Was Jim talking about this audio leak secret? Was Chrissy's abrupt declaration of union? What hurt more than this treachery? Hashtags like Dog and Jimmy was right, and the dog accepted it. It became viral within a few hours. Photographs were taken by fans of the emails, adding notes, expanding the dates, and creating a chronology. According to a widely shared post, the receipts revealed that Chrissy's spouse was making dubious financial transfers using aliases and burner accounts, which is illegal at best and illegal at worst. The worse the issue was that Jim and Chrissy went on to date for a few of the dates. Abruptly, the anguish was not only about a broken heart, but also about conflicts of power, allegiance, and trust that had been taking place in private. But it wasn't just the emails. Shocking revelation. They were accompanied by purportedly murky backstage video footage from the revelation of Chrissy's wedding. The video showed Jim hurriedly leaving the stage, but it was taken from a separate viewpoint. Jim yelled when he saw Chrissy's spouse was somewhat up. Far away, he folded his arms and smiled. During the recording, supporters had only heard anger expressed in public. However, they were able to interpret the body language now. The woman was not at ease. He wasn't anxious. He appeared self-assured, arrogant, like a man who thought he had previously won. Following that, TikTok entered just that video breakdown mode. It was not heartache. In the space provided for comments, this was referred to as war. Then Jim uses gasoline to extinguish the flames. He revealed a quick statement and a picture of one of the purported Instagram receipt tails. Nothing was published by him. Specifically, "But I told you everything." No more justification. Do not rant. They left out like explosives on the internet just 3 words later. Jim wasn't bluffing. That much was obvious. He had proof. If this was just it, the fans could only speculate at first what else he might have concealed. In the background, there was turmoil among the creators. Insiders claim that the VH1 administrator decides whether to conceal the film during urgent sessions or to contribute to the circumstance. According to some, revealing this would harm Chrissy's and the program's reputation. So they wish to retain her and her plans secure. Other people that had a beautiful gold scent. As stated by one insider, "We don't know. Nothing needs to be scripted anymore. The drama is developing naturally," the text says. However, one allegedly handed an authorities warning. "If Jim has extra revenue and we broadcast this, things might get lethal. We're no longer only having fun feelings. They are tampering with human life." In the meanwhile, Chrissy's silence turned louder. After receiving the down, people said that she had definitely stopped tweeting for 40 seconds. Not a ring choice, moral silence has great force. People began to wonder if she was rushing to repair the damage that had caused the scenes. Was anyone aware that she did her spouse have any other secrets? Willfully let the storm blow over, knowing that supporters will finally depart. The internet continues to be static. It goes beyond, though. On Twitter, Chrissy's previous recordings. And during his tenure on Love and Hip Hop, Jim started to appear once more, including situations when Jim accused her of being deceitful or not keeping secrets. The old arguments took on a new meaning all of a sudden. Admirers began assembling the leaking receipts, working together to create viral changes that displayed Sissy's spouse as a malevolent character who been prepared to replace Jim. Simply mentioned a TikTok that went viral. She couldn't find him. He is always in the dark waiting. Additionally, celebrities started to say something that fueled the fires. Remy Ma said in a mysterious tweet, "The delusion is frequently destroyed by receipts." In a comment beneath a picture, according to Cardi B, "This tea is so hot," she added, laughing emojis as well. Article that included rumors that not even 50 Cent refuse distributing a Jim picture and keeping a pile of fictitious invoices in addition to the assertion. Similar to school, Jimmy has been accumulating debts. Despite the fact that the screenshot went viral, he removed it a short while later. But the true surprise was late in the evening, when an unidentified production assistant sent an email to charge against a gossip blog's direct communication. According to them, it wasn't quite as awful as the emails that were exposed. Jim had videos allegedly depicting Chrissy's spouse in separate circumstances where the receipts appeared to be harmless. Chrissy won't be the only one. Marriage in doubt. The helper stated her entire reputation, as well as maybe hers, will be in danger if they fall. Due to that single comment, the internet became a brawl, and supporters began conjecturing what these types of there will be films, including dubious financial exchanges, confidential interactions, or even evidence of treachery. It extended beyond intimate relationships. Notwithstanding the reality that society was split at the end of the initial, firstly, this problem was starting to command. Furthermore, it was evident that this was more than a little depressed. Jim had the receipts on hand. The blogs narrated the story. However, what about Chrissy, husband? His entire persona was disintegrating before our eyes. When would Jim choose to reveal it? He wasn't either. Holding on to, if he had already the morning following the receipt's liberation of a combat zone? Additionally, that was a suspenseful ending that left everyone panting. There were hundreds of entries in Twitter threads, lengthy with TikTok founders, and comments were already behaving Shakespearean in the local area. Chrissy's spouse was situated between regions that were what had been burnt as a diet of tribalism had become a matter of culture. The internet believed Jim was simply beginning, and he was more than only the hurt former employee. He was the man now, with invoices,